One of the things that I think gives you a really different perspective than a lot of people because you have restaurants all over the country. You're in and out of them all of the time. You're as hands on as any manager I've ever seen, and as hands on with your product as I've ever seen. As you move about and talk to your patrons, what's the attitude out there? Are people pessimistic, optimistic, and has it shifted since before the pandemic to now? What are you hearing from your patrons as you talk to them?
I have a big restaurant down in Vegas called Guy's Vegas Kitchen and Bar, and kind of the flagship. And I was down there just a couple weeks ago, and they're lying out the door. And people are so excited and so happy and so thankful that we're open. Restaurants are far more than just a place to eat. I mean, you can eat at home. You can eat eat anywhere. People come out. A restaurant is an engagement. It's entertainment. It's people watching. It's being serviced. There's so many facets to why people eat out, and the guests are overwhelmingly they're eager. They want in so bad. And the funny thing is, in the restaurant industry, and I can tell you this, in my history of the restaurant industry, and I've been in it since I was 12. In my history, I've never seen it this upside down, in that business is not what we're fighting for. The business is there. Everybody's got business. It's just, how do you handle the business because of the workforce? This is mind-blowing to us in the industry. We never had seen this. I was just having this with my team today on their call. I said, we're not facing the things that we used to face in the industry of how to get people in the seats. People want to come in the seats. Restaurants just can't even. Limited seating, not because the government's saying you can't have people in your restaurant. They just don't have the cooks and the servers to do it.
Right.
The guests went in. Bad.
You mentioned it's more than just the food. And I want to talk about the food here in a minute, but I'm a fan, so I've followed you for a long, long time as a friend, so I'm not pretending to be objective. But one of the things that you've done,
which that never gets old. That never gets old to hear from you, by the way. Never gets old. I'll listen to that. They called and said, "Would I be interested?" And I said, "Yes, tonight, tomorrow, right now. Will you tell me when the boss wants me?" So thank you. And the admiration is mutual.
Well, thank you. The thing I'm talking about is, you said you've been in this since you're 12, and one of the things that you've always done is you've created an experience. It's not just somebody comes in, gets their food, sits down, eats it, pays, goes home. Every restaurant you've ever opened, it's always been a dining experience of some sort. You've created themes, something that people immerse themselves in when they come in. What drove you and gave you that insight and understanding from the very beginning? Because you've done it from the very, very beginning.
I've been asked a lot of questions. I've never had it asked that way. So I'll give you what my quick answer is, and usually that gut answer is the one. I grew up. I my family didn't have a lot of money. I grew up in a little town called Ferndale up in Northern California. If you ever saw the movie Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman, that was filmed in this little town called Ferndale. I was just there yesterday, doing a fundraiser for our local museum. So we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't eat out a lot. And we weren't poor by any means. My parents are very smart with their money, private business owners. So when we went out to eat, eating was an experience. It was something that we looked forward to. We talked about we were going to go do it. I was eating crazy food when I was a young kid. My parents were hippies. So I was eating sushi when I was like 7 and 8 years old. And in Northern California, eating sushi in the mid 70s was not a normal thing. But the point is dining out was an experience, something you looked forward to. And I always said when I made my restaurants that it wasn't going to be just about the food. The service had to be great. The environment had to set the tone. The music had to back up the environment. That had to all equal to the experience of what the food was, and the service had to circle it all around and complement it together. And I felt that when you have somebody that's coming, and this is how I explain it to my teams every time, when they're coming to entrust in you, and again, this was part of my mentality as a kid coming from not having a lot of money, they're going to entrust in you that this family of four is coming in to have their dinner. That may be their one dinner for the month. that they're getting to have out. Let's make sure we do everything within our power to make sure that they get the full experience, from the way they're greeted at the front door to the cleanliness of the parking lot when they drive in. And it echoes all the way through. I tell them about clean restrooms. Nothing sets you off worse than going to a restaurant and the restrooms are, just all these components. And when I started to ask my teams to have that vision of being responsible to take care of these people that are trusting you to give them the experience, people saw it a different way. It wasn't just let's put food on a plate and put it in front of them.
Yeah, and even the names that you put on your restaurants and some of the dishes you serve, like trash can nachos and Guy Fieri's dive bar and taco joint. You've got Guy's Pig and Anchor on Carnival Cruise Lines. How do you come up with this? Because people find it fun. They find it charming. They want to talk about it when they leave.
Well, that partnership that I have with Carnival Cruise Lines is an amazing one. And you go on Carnival Cruise Lines to have a blast. You go to forget everything at home. You get to come out there and it's 24/7. And they give you a great ship. They give you great rooms. They give you great entertainment. And what does everybody really seek the most? They seek great food. And so when I think about things, I want the name to come out of your mouth, as you just said, when you said trash can nachos.
Yeah.
I like that there's a little chuckle. You can't say trash can and then say nachos and not have a little juxtaposition to, tilt your head. But once you have them, once you have the experience and you see why we call them trash can nachos, and not being afraid to do it that way. I'm not a classically trained chef. I've cooked all my life. I never went to school for this. Some people went to school, some people didn't. I don't think you have to go to school to be great in any industry. I think you just have to be committed to it and passionate about it. And I have license to do crazy things like call things trash can nachos or Pig and Anchor. It's a barbecue joint on a ship.
Yeah.
We're serving pig and the ship's got an anchor.
Yeah.
I thought it worked.
Yeah, it does work, right?
Did you ever see the one, Phil? Did you ever see the one called Tex Wasabis?
No.
Tex Wasabis. I've opened, I've got 87 restaurants now. But this was like my fourth restaurant that I opened in my career. It was called Tex Wasabis, Southern style barbecue. So low and slow barbecue and sushi together. And everybody told me, you are crazy. There's no way this is going to work. And I said, barbecue restaurants don't typically get put in the environment that have really nice service and really, it's usually sawdust on the floor and it's a little bit more, down and dirty. And sushi restaurants are typically so cultural that that if you don't understand the culture of sushi and you're not a sushi person, and my wife didn't like sushi, but she loved barbecue. I said, I love sushi. I love barbecue. I'm going to put the two of them together. People looked at me like I had four heads. There's nobody that is that crazy to do it. And I'm telling you, we did it and it crushed for years. We had it like 15 years. It was one of the highlights.
Yeah. And your first restaurant when did you open your first restaurant? Was that in 96? Was that Johnny Garlic's in 96?
Yeah. Johnny Garlic's was in 96. And the reason we called it Johnny Garlic's, my business partner at the time, his son's name was Jonathan. And, being of Italian descent, we don't call anybody Jonathan, we call him Johnny. And garlic is in every ethnicity of food. Almost everybody uses garlic, and garlic's in ketchup. And we thought here was a great way because I wanted to have a menu that didn't have any boundaries. I wanted to open up a menu that just said, if I want to do a little Asian, I can. If I want to do a little barbecue, I can. If I want to do a little Italian, I can. And in 96, coming here to the wine country, you would have thought that, again, I had four heads because.
Well, you were 18.
I was 20, 23, 24? I was pretty young. My wife and I were pregnant. We were pregnant with our first son, and I was down in LA doing restaurants, and I loved LA, and the restaurant scene was awesome, but I knew that I would only be a little fish in a big pond, and I wanted to have a chance to make an impact in my community. I'm big about philanthropy, so I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to go to a community where I could make an impact.